Supply chain crises are everywhere, but knowledge can help you. Join the Logistics Point, a digital news platform for logistics and supply chain. Subscribe now on YouTube to access free online events, interviews with leading supply chain experts, and more. The Logistics Point. Welcome to Micro-fulfilment and Warehousing online event by the Logistics Point. My name is Nick Bugilov and I'm the editor of the Logistics Point. Thank you very much for joining us today. In the next hour and a half, we will be talking about not only micro-fulfillment, but also retail, micro-hubs, as well as how technology can help you with your fulfillment. Before we begin, I would like to thank everyone who is taking part in today's event, and special thanks go to Parcelli, who are the sponsor of this event. You will be able to learn more about Parcelli and micro-hubs in general from their CEO and founder, Sebastian, in just a few moments. Before that, I would like to ask everyone, if you like what you see and you're interested in more content from us, please consider subscribing. You can do this if you're watching us on YouTube by clicking the subscribe button. And with this, I would like to bring Sebastian with me on screen and to also welcome him to the event. Hi, thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, Nick. Good morning, everybody. Good to be here.
Well, you will be talking just in a second about micro-hubs and everything that's happening on the market. But before that, I want to ask you a question on where do you think the market is going now?
The market overall, Nick, I think is going into only one direction, which is customers adopting at a much faster pace to the new normal in e-commerce. This is mainly driven through the adaptation and adoption of mobile purchasing technologies and everything we have experienced over the last 2 years. With that, what will not only drive over the next few months and years is obviously the parcel volume, but very much consumer expectations towards speed and convenience. So these are also elements that will most certainly stay and continue to develop.
Well, thank you very much with these opening words. The stage is yours, and you will be sharing with us more about micro-hubs. You just bring your presentation.
Yeah.
So just a second, sorry about that. And just apologies, because my screen doesn't necessarily work very well in this one.
No worries.
While we're waiting, sorry about that. Okay. Yeah, okay, wonderful. Sorry about that. Well, now I'm leaving you with Sebastian and looking into how e-commerce logistics can be helped by micro-hubs.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Nick. I started obviously the conference with a comment on future outlook, and the presentation today wants to give you further detail about that at a later stage. What I would love to focus on right now is to look into what and how many of the current e-commerce logistics challenges can be answered in this kind of post-pandemic world. It can be answered with the micro hubs and the overall evolvement we have seen in local distribution over the last few years. The structure of the presentation today is around giving you a quick summary of the challenges we have identified that have an immediate impact on everything fulfillment and distribution, the changing warehousing environment overall. Then we want to dive deeper into what benefits microhubs offer. Some of them quite evident and clear, but others maybe more newer. And we will not try to look too much into automation, robotics in that space. It's literally more the micro hub as a hyperlocal fulfillment center overall. Then we can, of course, look into a hands-on, tangible case study with the Parceli's microhub technology overall, something that is obviously not just operational in the UK, but also abroad. And then we will try to wrap in some future outlook and put potential opportunities within that microhub space, and finalize with a little bit of a Q&A and the opportunity to ask questions. So with that, maybe a first glimpse of the current challenges. We are looking into specific areas that you're all well aware of. It is the parcel volume that has exponentially grown. In 2021, retail e-commerce sales amounted to approximately $4.9 trillion worldwide. These figures are forecasted to grow by over 50% over the next 4 years, reaching more than 2.5 to 8 trillion dollars by 2025. These are statistical numbers. So the volume increase is most certainly one of the major challenges. More traffic, more space requirements with it, etc. This space requirement is a specific one, as currently there are only 18.1 trillion square foot available of industrial space purpose-built for supply chains and so on. For a major reason why there's a clear visibility already that brands operating online usually have limited available storage space generally, and now have even more further obstacles with this in-store with overall strategies, and need therefore to adapt to additional distribution strategies just to fulfill the space requirements they are challenged with. The most important piece, though, in this kind of delivery space is the last mile, with not just a increase of parcel volume, but also consumer expectations changing. We are continuing to see that the majority of the total costs of shipping, 53% to be more precise, is somehow related to that last mile piece. So whether it is a consumer collecting from store or a actually shipping taking place, this kind of last mile element becomes incredibly important to fulfill consumer expectations, the need for convenience and speed. And then last but not least, congestion is a massive topic. It is no surprise that that vans contribute to up to 15% of road traffic today, and carry, though, a third of the nitrogen oxide emissions from road transport. But the important thing is, if you're looking at the UK, that there are now approximately 3.7 to 4 million white vans on UK roads, with around 150,000 of these involved in delivering online orders to customers. So a number of areas that are important. The fact that fulfillment centers and distribution centers to date are still not necessarily always as close to the customer as they could potentially be, and we are looking into the microhub setup later on, is obviously a main driver that there is still a lot of congestion associated with e-commerce delivery. That brings us to the next slide. Yeah, thank you. So if we are looking at the warehousing environment today, still for many of retailers operating, what is very clear is that warehouses within existing retail distribution networks are often ill-suited to the requirements for for that kind of speed and convenience demanded by consumers today. For a start, the buildings are not necessarily in the right place, and we try to capture this with the top picture, or don't have the right size. With that, the rise of alternative delivery solutions has been in full swing for years now, but has been further accelerated over the COVID pandemic. We are looking that this kind of the more significant change will continue to be the rise of in demand for smaller urban warehouses close to major cities and urban centers. What necessarily means that retailers will need to undertake rigorous optimization in many ways, define processes and determine the location of the warehouse in their network. However, in many cases, it is a continued challenge to make use of such warehouses in the most efficient manner. Because by definition, being close to the customer means that it requires a sensible amount of technology to measure stock levels, organize replenishments, and so on and so forth. So the micro hub being one solution, but with that, of course, retailers have taken things into their own hands, and particularly those with brick and mortar footprint are in the position to offer alternative delivery methods. Buy online, pick up in store, for example, BOPIS, ship from store, etc. We are also seeing, of course, with the incredible rise in on-demand grocery deliveries, a utilization of this kind of hyperlocal space for on-demand storage. So if we're looking into the benefits of micro hubs, there are multiple angles to look at. First of all, that the warehousing environment has shifted. This is something we have clearly identified and can monitor over the last few years massively and continues. The growing need and the efficiency is key, not only for those retailers, but also for consumers, picking up and having the alternative of a flexible range of delivery options. The purpose-built distribution centers statistically will be on the will not be growing at the same pace going forward. There's there is, though, and this is the important part, there is this kind of additional need for additional warehouse space, 330 million square feet of additional warehousing space monitored by McKinsey will be required by 2025. The important piece here being, and the question mark at the same time, how much of this will be capitalized or provided by micro hubs going forward. The buy online, pick up in store solution we mentioned earlier is obviously like an interesting one because it has seen huge consumer adaptation. 56% of online shoppers in the UK will continue, or mentioned according to research, will continue utilizing COVID even after the pandemic, etc. That said, the main challenge continues to be that all micro hub solutions appear to be somehow related to physical settings and installations that require investment. So a major obstacle of micro hubs seems to be the kind of investment that needs to be made towards a purpose-built or a hyper-local infrastructure in access space when it comes to many of the solutions you see here on the images, whether it's a high street store converted into a micro hub or a parcel locker installed in prime retail space, there is typically always some investment required with it. However, that requested this investment is offset with a number of those benefits you can read on the slide. The operational and cost efficiencies, obviously, just allowing this kind of instant fulfillment with delivery methods that might consume much less resources and setup. The overall aspect of enabling sustainable delivery methods, given the proximity to the customer, cargo bikes and bicycles can be utilized as opposed to white vans we mentioned earlier in the environmental statistics. And with that, obviously, a immediate impact on sustainability, reducing the number of journeys that are for which a van is required. One important piece here being that we cannot obviously look into all different aspects and benefits, but there are also lighter touch aspects that have an immediate effect on costs. Micro hubs are more flexible in terms of leasing, normally provide a better distribution fit, etc., etc. All obviously underlined by the fact that the right technology needs to be in place. And with that, we come to a case study. The Parcelli solution as a whole was born back in 2014 on the idea that we would convert, as opposed to setting up purpose-built distribution facilities, that we would utilize access space in high street real estate for all sorts of different retail and logistics services. We have been continuing to activating this kind of space, not just for online retailers and logistics, but also for consumers, with a clear focus since the pandemic on B2B customers. The important piece here being that a micro hub not just fulfills this kind of first or last mile space, not just what a typical warehouse would do, but that technology-enabled Parcelli locations enable a broad range and ever evolving range of services, including click and collect on the last mile, but then also this hyperlocal fulfillment and warehousing we mentioned earlier on slides that is increasingly important for retailers getting closer to their customers, and then bundled up with consumer expectations and the need for convenience, everything around returns. A hub can also be utilized for drop-offs, return consolidation, etc., etc. Yeah, perfect. So this slide really just summarizing the benefits, or respectively the structure overall. We as mentioned, set up micro hubs in access locations in local high streets. We are optimizing the model in many ways, given that it is not a purpose-built infrastructure and therefore incredibly lean, cost efficient, and can be relocated and set up instantly almost where consumers really generate demand for a specific retailer. A hub infrastructure in so-called demand pockets, which is a fairly unique setting for retailers and allows them to adapt to seasonality over Christmas, for example, but also for changing SKU requirements or flash sale or promotional items that just require promotion in a specific postcode for a specific period of time. The important thing is that it is complementary to all infrastructure a retailer or logistics company might already have. We are carrier, or the solution is carrier and retailer agnostic, and as such, infrastructure that is already in place can be plugged and played basically into this model. So how can we look into the future? The micro hub offering the proximity to the customer, facilitating the management of the ever-growing parcel volume, is obviously only one of many benefits we have mentioned over the last few slides. The reality is that in a world where congestion zones, low emission zones will grow, and urban areas cleared from petrol engined vehicles over time. We see the rise of electrical vehicles within logistics, of course, the utilization of alternative delivery methods, including bicycles and cargo bikes. It is very clear that the utilization or the opportunity utilizing microhubs has by far not yet reached its level of innovation. The reality is that we have identified already many opportunities, some of which are listed here, that could be part of what a microhub optimized towards logistics and e-commerce use offers going forward. We have already at Parcelli been experimenting with utilizing the locations as well for cross-docking, the trunking of larger assignments to a Parcelli location, and from there to break it down into smaller consignments that are fulfilled last mile with an on-demand courier or bicycle. The same return-wise, consolidating return shipments and then collecting palletized goods back and return them to the retailer's warehouse. So the cross-docking opportunity is fascinating, particularly if you consider the setup of Parcelli locations or microhubs on the edge of a ultra-low emission zone. On top of that, there's obviously everything around the servicing and maintenance of this kind of ever-growing EV and alternative delivery fleet. The charging of batteries, etc., from a hub location seems to be a kind of fantastic way of optimizing the overall delivery speed, exchange and maintenance of cargo bikes powered by electrical batteries. And then last but not least, getting creative, trying to look into what the e-commerce fulfillment methods and automation might look like in 10 years from now. The hub also offers a broad range of services towards potential drone delivery and other functionalities, not necessarily in urban areas, but if we are looking rural, there is most certainly the opportunity to utilize hubs for services that are very much in the analyzed in the context of 21st century delivery methods in a decade from now. From a sustainability perspective, and I think this is what we try to summarize on that slide, is it is all about it's not just all about looking at optimization from an operation and cost perspective, but also looking at the positive impact microhubs can have on the overall supply chain, both in and outbound, last and first mile. The utilization of clean delivery methods is a upfront element that makes the setting up of ultra low or highly sustainable, ultra low emission or highly sustainable delivery methods in cities capable or realizable almost instantly. The platform we are operating facilitates today already green delivery method trials in multiple different cities in the UK and abroad. The benefit of it being that a microhub, if carrier agnostic, the way our structure, our platform is structured, that a microhub can really leverage this kind of future delivery outlook. We have, on top of that, of course, the immediate impact on congestion, not just from an emission perspective, but also just looking at road traffic overall, the numbers of vehicles on the road. With bicycles and cargo bikes, of course, filtering much easier through inner city roads than the queue of white vans. With a clear view on reduced failed deliveries, microhubs utilized by carriers in the Parcelli context, as well as leave safe options. So whenever a home delivery fails, allows to literally put the number of failed deliveries to zero. It is either home delivered or left at a safe place, a micro hub close by, which allows retailers to offer an impeccable consumer experience, a consumer to have the good feeling of of no further requirement to redeliver a parcel, and of course just the sheer fact that the number of failed deliveries can also be can have an incredible impact on the bottom line of a carrier from a cost efficiency perspective. And then last but not least, the social impact. By means of utilizing excess space in existing commercial real estate, also as opposed to setting up physical space, we have mentioned and showed you images of micro hubs that are purpose-built, or locker walls that are put into prime retail space. The social impact of utilizing excess space is incredible. The high street of today and tomorrow will be impacted by the fact that consumer demands have changed fundamentally since the pandemic, or accelerated through the pandemic, and that the fact that we can leverage with technology those businesses that can generate an additional income by utilizing some of their excess space for the use of e-commerce and logistics fulfillment is a fascinating thought that has already, in the case of Parcelli, shown incredible benefits to local retailers. So the overall opportunity is to make micro hubs incredibly advanced when it comes to sustainability, not just sustainability from an environmental perspective, but also from a social impact perspective, and therefore long-lasting and standing. Yeah, not much more to summarize about us. I think from a case study perspective, I have mentioned the benefits, the opportunity of a micro hub operated with our technology platform is beyond the typical last mile delivery, click and collect, or first mile hyperlocal fulfillment. It is can be utilized by retailers and carriers in a plug and play, instantly integratable version, and then offers basically a broad range of modules that can be activated as and when required. Well, thank you very much. That was my presentation today. My name is Sebastian Steinhauser, and you can obviously, and I would be delighted to take your questions and contact on LinkedIn.
Sebastian, thank you very much. And there are a few comments and questions as well, and I wanted to bring a few of them up. So one of them is specifically about what do you see as potential impact of micro hubs on the challenges of the last mile, potentially reduced consolidation, smaller capacity vehicles, etc.
So when it comes to last mile, I think there are multiple areas that are super exciting, and some of which are already areas we have tapped into in our partnerships with major carriers and courier companies. The main last mile element that I always love to highlight is that consumers will have a ever broader need for a broad range of delivery methods. A consumer doesn't want to have just one very convenient or very efficient delivery method. So it's not that we are looking for this one solution that fits all consumers. It is to have a range and as many different delivery methods as possible. That's the first last mile fundamental of providing excellent consumer experience at checkout.
And
with that, looking at the micro hub, looking at the micro hub, just to answer the question, the micro hub has a fantastic opportunity to, or provides a fantastic opportunity to offer with one setup a broad range of last mile delivery solutions. It is the click and collect part where you can have the parcel delivered directly to a hub and collected from there. You can utilize the micro hub for leave safe, as mentioned earlier, home delivery chosen by the consumer, but customer not there, shipment carded, goes not back to the warehouse, but instead is left with a micro hub and can be collected from there, etc., etc. Return drop of location, return consolidation. It becomes a fascinating solution to a broad range of challenges when it comes to the last mile.
Another thing which is quite London specific is how distributed, as far as you know, are micro hubs around London, and how do you see the potential of established logistics firms to collaborate with you in present and future?
Yeah, absolutely. I think just very London specific, but most certainly also similar to many other large and mid-sized cities, is the fact that high streets are changing. They have been changing for years. The change has been accelerated through the pandemic. And the reality is that in London, we have thousands of businesses on local high streets that do not operate at the perfect or pre-COVID cost efficiency levels, meaning they are requesting opportunities to generate further income. So why not tapping into this kind of almost unlimited source, activating it with smart technology, and then utilizing retail businesses as a fulfillment or e-commerce platform for both retailers and carriers, and a broad range of services. So in London, just to answer the essence of the question, how many are there? We're talking in the thousands of hubs that are already live within the M25. On our platform alone, we have around 800 locations that are operating basically at what you have seen, the service levels, and this is ever growing because businesses inquire on an inbound basis to us quite frequently and daily, to our customers service center, about the opportunities to generate further income by offering a service that leverages this kind of e-commerce wave that is ever growing.
Just as a side note, before I bring the next question on, that we will be talking with Mango Logistics in about half an hour, specifically because they also, as a logistics companies, work on micro hubs. So this will also be answered as a question from a different point of view. But the next one is, are your operations fully manual, and are you considering integrating automation and robotics? And so, basically, what is your opinion on the robotics around micro hubs?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I would distinguish between environments in which we're operating micro hub technology. The area I tried to focus in our presentation today, which is also the space we are utilizing and leveraging on as Parcelli, to 95% of those spaces are not purpose-built, but instead retail businesses that have available space or access space that is underutilized, and activate that space through our mobile technology as fulfillment space offered to retailers and carriers. This environment is not optimized towards logistics, as in there are features a local retailer, a convenience or a store or a supermarket has that are very similar to what we know from warehousing environments, meaning a loading bay, a secure storage space, staff only access to specific areas of the warehouse or storage space, staffed on-site support at all times, etc., etc., CCTV footage, business insurance, and so on. However, moving this kind of space into the world of automation, there are limitations. If we're then looking at this kind of second warehouse space, the one that is purpose-built, optimized towards e-commerce or logistics fulfillment, yes, putting all those innovative robotics and automation technologies in there is a question of time and money, and investment muscle that to achieve that. The reality is, I believe it will be a combination of both. It will be we will not see purpose-built warehouses disappearing over the next decade. They actually fulfill a fantastic opportunity, particularly when we talk robotics and automation, but also replenishing micro hubs in urban areas. but it will be a combination of both in close collaboration, larger purpose-built, fully automated and optimized warehouse infrastructures will supply and replenish micro hubs in urban areas from where you have this kind of last few miles already achieved towards the customer, where the final bit is fulfilled with a delivery method that is appropriate and adapted to the environment. Just to the last point on this question, do we operate manual? No, we don't. It is the manual aspect is, of course, that staff manually moves goods from A to B inside the micro hub, but the rest is automated with technology on site.
Next thing again is how the micro hub can have an impact when urban hubs seem more suited to the last mile delivery. And this is in a way, or at least in the cities, it seems in a way connected to what we were just talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. The micro hub. I mean, first of all, I tried not to make too much of a differentiation between the micro and the urban hub. We are differentiating more between the purpose-built DC or infrastructure outside the city, and then the storage capability in a city, the urban hub or micro hub. The combination of both is, I believe, what I tried to answer with previous question already, is that the right way forward appears to be a combination. And when we see how micro hubs, how our network of today, around 2,500 locations in the UK and abroad, is utilized, it is this very combination, utilizing purpose-built larger infrastructures to replenish micro hubs, and from there fulfill last mile, respectively activate on-demand delivery methods and all sorts of green delivery methods we mentioned earlier.
And also
I hope
one
this
question
answers the question.
Yeah, which I think is quite important in terms around social, because you were talking about social impact and what the kind of environmental, but also social risk that you face when you're not necessarily face, but you confront when you're trying to implement it.
Well, from an environmental perspective, the impact of a micro hub is almost instant. Cutting down on failed deliveries, cutting down on delivery attempts, because you can now basically cut every carded delivery or push every carded delivery into a location close by. Cutting down on the delivery destinations, as in a hub can take a bulk delivery, fulfilling basically shipments and orders for an entire street. And then all this bundled up with the effect that because of the proximity to the consumer, things can be done by foot or or standard bicycle courier. So it is it has an instant environmental impact. We are trying to calculate always on an annual basis. On top of that, there is this kind of social impact, utilizing locations that are already available instead of replacing retail outlets with micro hubs. We believe in the combination of both. There is a vast commercial real estate opportunity that online retail and logistics have not yet tapped into, and our platform is skewed towards resolving that challenge.
Sebastian, thank you very much for your time and for all. Also, thanks to the people who asked you questions. You will be able to learn more from Sebastian because we've worked with Perselli on many interviews as well as articles. You can do this by going to our website, thelogisticspoint.com, and you will also receive more from Perselli after the event. Now, Sebastian, thank you very much. And we will be moving forward in just a second. We will be moving forward with Phaser and Intergroup, who are going to look into micro-fulfillment and warehousing on the point of automation and technology. Herbert Den Have, who is the CEO of Phaser, and Mike Strybos from Intergroup will be joining us. But before that, I want to share with you another event of ours that you can register for in May on sustainability. Supply chains are turning green, but where will the energy come from? Join us on the 10th of May to talk about power and energy in logistics, visibility and sustainability, and the role of people. Discover why sustainability is more than just a word and what logistic and supply chain organizations are doing to fulfill net zero pledges, customers' demands, and shortages of key materials. The event is free and you can register now. Delivering Green, Creating Sustainable Supply Chains on the 10th of May by the Logistics Point. Register now. Well, welcome again. I am just about to bring Mike and Herbert on. As I said, they will be... Oh. Hello to both of you. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning.
Hello. Morning.
I wanted to just, as a very starting point, before I leave you to share your thoughts and all the things that you to work on together, both. Let's start with Herbert. On where do you think the role of technology is in what Sebastian was covering?
Role of technology. In our case, it's mainly deep learning. This AI making a big difference and enabling robots to pick unknown items and parcels, and so that can be implemented in various stages of the parcel or item picking processes.
And Mike, from your personal experience, how is this beneficial?
Yeah, I think what they were doing, especially with their big unknown products that will be passing through their warehouse, it will be a large variety. It will be at the moment impossible to do that fully automated, but we're really working towards that point where even the hub itself should not be manned anymore and can be fully automated. So I think that's where all technologies could connect in the future, I guess.
Well, with this, I will be leaving you to do your to look into how, as Herbert said, deep learning is helping companies. I think that Herbert, just to, if you could bring the presentation on.
I've got it here.
Yes, just a second. Sorry, to click on it. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just start by saying that these days are really strange. Just this morning, one of our Ukrainian colleagues was able to get his parents from the Poland border. So happy for that, but it feels strange. But anyhow, we business goes on and we try to add value in the market. Pfizer is a Dutch company, a spin-off of the university by a professor. And we apply deep learning to enable robots to grasp unknown items and parcels. Like this envelope, you cannot program it. Every time I drop it, it will be different. So that's something that we, like a kid of 1 or 2 years old, is able to see, okay, this is an envelope and I can grasp it. That's in essence what we do. And I will show you a short video why it's still needed in the business. So this is the practice worldwide, 7 times 24 hours a day, where all parcels are still being picked by humans 7 times 24 hours. So small parcels, big parcels, DHL, UPS, Federal Express, PostNL, La Poste, you name them. They all rely on operators to pick those parcels. And so this is just a few examples of the industry where we are currently automating. So you get the picture. Okay. So what do we solve? So we enable a robot to grasp those items, and to pick them regardless the size, shape, color, or how they are stacked. And we use therefore a neural network, which is independent of the hardware. So you can use a camera, a robot, an anti-factor, and it can simulate both the items, where Mike Strijbos will explain more, as well as parcels. So the system works as follows: it creates an image of the parcels. So you see black envelopes on the bottom, and it also uses a 3D image, so a point cloud, and finding the grasp poses in 6 degrees of freedom, which is simply X, Y, Z, and where to grasp and to singulate. And that does it very fast and very robust, and so it can do it 7 times 24 hours, whereas humans, of course, they have to take a break and eat and sleep, etc. So the essence, what we do is we find the place where a robot can apply suction with a gripper. And so we look for a surface where to apply suction. And you see the drinking cup as an example. And we look for a flat surface where the suction cup can apply the vacuum force to singulate. We are unique as company because we grew bootstrapped. And I think that the same applies for Inter in the Netherlands. We did it step by step by step. And one of the first projects we did, and still in operation worldwide from America to Japan, it's picking the corners of towels. Nothing to do with e-commerce, but still it's feeding a folding machine. So the towel gets folded and then with the logo on top presented, and then it can be reused. So this is something we did, and this is the power of a neural network. So it distinguishes between a soft corner and a hard corner, and it finds, you see the yellow, blue, and red point, defines the point where the robot can grasp the towel and then feed it into the machine. Just an example, but it's so powerful, and it's something that's how we could grow our company based on these clients. This is an example of item picking, where we challenge people to put unknown items into a bin, and then the robot will pick them. So it looks for the surface where to apply suction, and it does it really smart. So this is just some examples, and Mike will show more of it. The essence, what we do is to first see where one object starts and the next one ends and the next one starts, is to do object recognition, and which is the key element, the fundament of applying a robot. Because if you don't see the difference, then it tries to pick in the middle, and then maybe it has 2 items in the gripper, and then you have a problem. So in this case, you can see our bounding boxes coming from the software and finding the right envelope to pick. The same for depalletizing, we do a lot. So decanting, depalletizing of trays in logistics. And again, it's ignoring the tape, and it's ignoring the pallet, and it finds the right boxes to pick. I like this example. We have several integrators that work on truck unloading or container unloading. And on the left, you see the image coming out of a handy, a phone. And on the right, you see the output of our neural network, including a confidence score. So even on the right top, where the boxes are very hard to see, the software is able to recognize every single box, classify it as a box, and also give a confidence score of 99.99 whatever percentage that these are individual boxes. So this is the basics you need to in order to automate. And then again, here you see the grasp poses where to apply force. I think this is a video. Let me start it. Yes, of picking clothing. We do a lot in clothing. This is one of our integrators, ABL Techniek, and this is just an example of picking and putting it on a conveyor. We do the same for depalletizing, and the same for item picking, where Mike will now say a little bit more.
Yeah, thank you, Herbert. My name is Mike Strijbos. I'm with Interlogistics Engineering in the Netherlands as well. Our company is specialized in automating intralogistics for our end customers. So a lot of customers that we have run their business in e-commerce, and it's our goal to automate the internal processes that they have with a lot of hardware and software. And initially, our company was founded as a software company. But at the moment, the project we do, there are a lot of meters or kilometers even of conveyors and other automating equipment in order to get an efficient throughput of the products through the warehouse. And I think you actually have a video of the machine that we are talking about, Herbert. Am I right? You have control of the presentation.
Sure. Then I have to share it again.
So in the warehouses that we build, a lot of processes can already be automated, but one very important thing is still done manually in the majority of the warehouses, and that is the actual order picking itself. So boxes with product, they often come to an operator, but still the operator needs to look into the box, pick the product, put it into the destination tote or carton or whatever the customer is using. So still manual labor there. And that is already automated to a reasonably high level. So the operator doesn't walk into the warehouse and finds his products, but the products come to the operator and also the destination boxes or cartons. But still an operator is needed in that area to do that specific task. And that's where our idea some time ago came out with a product that we now call GRIP. GRIP stands for Gantry Robotic Intelligent Piece Picker. And that is basically what it does. So basically, it receives product, and product can be anything. That's also why we teamed up with Vizier, because we do not know upfront what the product exactly is. We have some minimum and maximum specification, but if it's round or square, or if it's in a cardboard box or in a sleeve, we don't know. We don't want to know actually, because our customers sometimes they have 10,000 and even more different products which we don't want to train. And then the idea is that we send those products in crates that are stored in a dark warehouse to this machine or a cluster of these machines, and that this machine automatically detects where these products are and picks them and places them in their destination boxes or crates. We took a video of that together with Vizier some time ago, and I think, Herbert, you are about to show that, right?
Yeah, I thought it was in the presentation, but I can start it separately. So let me check that.
So in this video, you will see some footage of the machine while it was at our testing facility in the Netherlands. And at the moment, the first machine is actually being installed at one of our long existing customers in Belgium.
Okay, I've got it here.
Yeah, okay.
It's on LinkedIn.
I thought we had it in the presentation, right?
Yeah, me too, but it doesn't matter. It's so sorry for that.
I will give just Herbert to then find it, but a few questions for Mike while Herbert's doing this. Mike, how easy is it to actually introduce such technologies into daily
It's very
operations?
difficult because it is new, it does not exist. And in logistics, often when it comes to an investment, it means that you need to know upfront exactly to the last digit when the return on investment is being made. And especially with a product like this, it is cutting edge technology. That's also why we use Vizier software. It is cutting edge machinery, and therefore a return on investment is not as easy to calculate as you would like it. So finding a launching customer is a difficult thing, and especially with the last period of COVID in mind, where people are not able to travel or to come here and to visit us and to see how the machine is performing. That actually delayed our time to market quite a bit. The good thing is, as I mentioned before, we're actually installing it at one of our long-lasting customers as we speak. And our goal is to have it running in the beginning of next month. So we're really looking forward to that, because at that time we can also tell you who is the customer and provide you with actual footage of a machine in the field, which is, of course, an important thing to get it sold.
So I saw that Herbert has added it. So just a second to, yep.
Okay, the video.
Yep. So this is an animation with an exploded view of the machine. Basically, it shows the entire machine and its dimensions. On the outer side, in this case, you see crates and boxes, and they can run through one another. It doesn't matter for the machine. And in the middle, there's a lane that controls the stock. So that comes from, say, a dark warehouse. And on the outside, you have the orders, or it can be boxes or totes. In the middle, the stock conveyor, as I mentioned. And on top, a gantry or a large 3D printer, whatever it is you like to call it, but that's basically what it is. And with the technology that Vizier provides us, we look into this source box, as it shows right now. And together with the data we get from Vizier and scale that is integrated in this position, we identify if a product is being picked up, or in this case, a product actually fell out. So we noticed that the weight was not correct. And we therefore are able to pick up products from in various angles, because they will never be perfectly flat in a box, or in an angled position somewhere in a corner, or even in boxes that have dividers inside the boxes. So we are able to very flexibly, as you see here, pick up product and position it into a destination tote or carton. And positioning in our case means really putting it in there, not dropping it, but really positioning it. Majority of our customers sell products that are not cheap. So dropping a product in the middle of a box or in the middle of a cardboard box is not allowed. So we actually look for space in the box, and we place it there where it should be placed. And it can do that at quite a rapid speed, as you've seen at the end of the presentation, and I think also in one of the first slides that we still have available, right, Herbert? Mm-hmm. It shows some specifications of the machine and why we came to this. So could you share that, Herbert?
The specifications are like this?
Yeah, one of the first slides, I think, from my part of the presentation.
Then I have to get the slides back.
Okay, is that possible?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Okay.
Yes.
We are always demanding to each other, so
yes, I think it will be possible. But one thing that Mike, you mentioned that the products that you work with are quite valuable. Is such technology mostly for very high value products, or can it be implemented for?
No, not especially. It can also be implemented for cheaper items, but especially for those more expensive items, it becomes also more important how you place them, that you do not drop them in the middle of a box or a carton. So that part of the technology definitely is a thing that is required when you go to the higher end of the market. But also for cheaper products, we have the technology in place that simply drops it in the middle if you would like that. But yeah, we feel more secure with looking for a position in a box, a space in a box, and putting the product there where it actually fits.
So, and this is what you were talking about, I think, about the dimensions.
Yeah. So this actually is some specifications of the machine and some graphics of it. So as I said, it's a fully automated robot picker. It can pick up to 1,200 pieces per hour, which is quite a lot, of course. It has the system is built around the vision technology of Vizier. That's also why we do this joint presentation. So in the previous slide, if you could go back there, Herbert, yes, thank you. Yeah, this one. Yeah, this one. You see that this is the actual source box where we pick from. In this case, there's only one type of product in this box, but it could also be divided into 2 or 4 compartments. And we have received from the customer information about the size of this product. At least we hope that the customer can provide it. If they cannot provide it, we have to assume that any product is right. But if we get it then we use the software of Vizier to see if we can find product with that dimensions. And as soon as we lift it up, we also try to check if the weight that was supplied by the customer is subtracted from the box that we are handling at the moment. So then we know that we are only picking up one item for sure. So nothing is sticking to the box or whatever.
And I want to move to a few questions. One of them was, is it also proven, and specifically in this case about grip, but also in general, adding all of these technologies into the e-grocery industry, where, you know, picking an apple, for example, is quite a challenge?
Yeah, at the moment, the machine is focused on things that can be picked up with a vacuum gripper. But at the moment, we have an internal project running where we also look at these e-commerce groceries to have that done, because there's a lot of things that cannot be picked up by vacuum. At the moment, that is the way to go with this machine. But in the design of the machine, we already anticipated for other technologies to be implemented in the future. So we're not stuck to only vacuum, but we could also have real physical grippers added to the machine, for example.
And the other thing is, for both of you, but let's start again with Herbert. Where are people going? If we have all of these machines, what is the role of people? A very big question.
Now, let me give the example of what everybody knows is data warehouses. So it's where all the machines are running for the web services. Everybody knows that. And there are just a few operators, and all the computers in the racks, they're just doing their jobs. And the operator sometimes changes a board, replaces something, does some maintenance, etc. I believe in the next couple of years, you're going to see the first lights out e-commerce fulfillment centers, the first sorting centers, partial sorting centers, where there are operators monitoring the robots, but a big part of the process have been automated. So in that sense, yeah, I often make a joke, we are in de-recruitment, but there is so big shortage of people in operation. And if you look at the work that's done late at night, middle of the night, 7 times 24 hours, I love those people to be with their kids and not working in a warehouse doing things that the robot can also do.
And Mike,
Yeah,
what is your...
I think in addition to that, Herbert, what we typically see is that indeed a shortage of people that are available to do tasks like this, but also some of these tasks that we automate, they are really monotonous. So some people like to do it, but a lot of people don't like to do them. And by automating or starting automating processes like this, it's not that from the get-go you can automate all picking processes within a warehouse, but if you could already start with, let's say, 70%, that means that you have a less big demand for human resources, and a lot of monotonous jobs can be done by machines like this, and then the more challenging jobs can be done by humans, which is also the things that humans naturally more like to do instead of jobs like this. So yeah, it goes both ways, I guess.
And finally, Mike, how is it, you mentioned that no, it's very hard, or was very hard, to bring people and show them how this is working. How easy is it for logistics companies to think, hey, this is something, a road that maybe is worth exploring?
Yeah, what we, for example, did in the last year when it was pretty much impossible to travel or to visit us, we asked our customers, send us your typical products, send us your challenging products, and then we first investigate whether does Vision support this? Can Vizier software detect the product and where we should grasp it? And then secondly, can we pick it up? So if it's a sponge, then we cannot pick it up, for example. If it's too small to detect, we cannot pick it up. So we did a lot of sending back and forth goods and making video material and trying to explain why some things work and some things don't work. And that helped us quite a lot. But then in the end, yeah, it's not a very cheap machine. So people really want to see it up and running.
Yes.
So we now in our test facility in the Netherlands have a machine like this up and running, and that we can invite customers to come over and bring their own products. And that's becoming more easy. Currently, I'm fortunate enough to say. And then they can come over with their products. We simply put it in, and we immediately see if it works or not. So that's the direction we're heading, and especially having a machine like this in the field running, will help sell, of course, for sure.
The proof of the pudding is in the picking.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Thank you very much both for your time. After we finish, people will receive a bit more information with your presentation and also from you as well. Thank you very much, Mike and Herbert.
Yeah.
We
Welcome.
will be moving to a discussion panel. I will bring with me on the screen panel and Hendrik, who are both from Groundfield School of Management, specifically in looking into logistics and supply chain. And they will also talk more about a different look at micro-fulfillment. Manuel, Hendrik, thank you very much for joining me.
Hey, Nick. Nice to see you again.
Hey, thank you.
I will be bringing Banu's
Would I have my
screen on, or is it Hendrik's first?
Hendrik.
It's mine first. Let me start the sharing. I hope that.
And yep.
Is that okay?
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you very much both. And in the next 5 minutes, you will be looking specifically at the micro-fulfillment and retail.
Okay, yeah. So welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today. So we named our talk here Future Retailer Micro Warehousing in E-commerce, and you can see our names here. And I mean, we will reflect on developments that have been changing the role of warehouses recently. And well, we will also look at some market statistics, some research that has happened in that regard. So let us start with a focus on some social market shifts as well as technology changes. So unsurprisingly, the COVID-19 pandemic has led to one economic recession initially globally and in the UK. But whilst many businesses have been suffering, logistics has actually seen very high demand in many cases. And the pandemic has emphasized the need for robust supply chains with warehousing very much as a cornerstone activity. And of course, nowadays, customers continue to embrace e-commerce, have moved to online purchases throughout all kinds of product categories. This, of course, includes food, but also fashion, technology, even cars can be purchased online now. And in turn, that meant that companies had to invest or continue to have to invest into their warehouse infrastructure in order to adjust accordingly. And yeah, as promised, a few statistics. So as lockdowns became the new normal, businesses, consumers went digital and purchased more goods and services online. And of course, that raised the e-commerce share of global retail trade quite drastically. For instance, Adobe Analytics, which they analyzed over 1 trillion visits to retail sites, and they state that e-commerce hit a new high in 2021 with about 4.2 trillion US dollars globally. And similarly, Amazon has reported an increase from 2020 to 2021 of their net sales by about 22%. So really a huge increase there on the e-commerce side. And when we look at the slide here, we can see that customers in several large economies, such as the UK, Japan, the US, state that online shopping for groceries is becoming their preferred method, really. The UK is an especially mature online market already, as these numbers suggest. Interestingly enough, also in this survey that was done here by Adobe, over half of the customers said that they believe they're actually saving money by shopping for groceries online. And when we then look a bit further, looking into the future, these graphs here show, these estimates show that e-commerce grocery market will grow significantly. We can see that on the top with more than 10% until 2026. Meanwhile, brick and mortar stores may only grow by around 3% on average. So quite a significant difference there. Looking into customers' preferences, so those trend patterns in e-commerce are, of course, also reflected in customer order expectations. They are actually asking for shorter delivery times and improved availability of stock on one hand, and maintaining low delivery costs on the other. So this is shown by a PwC conducted global consumer insight survey from December 2021, which covered about 10,000 respondents in 26 countries. And they showed that efficient delivery or collection service is highly important, what we can see here. However, at the very top, we can also see that customers always value the best deal above all. So what that means ultimately for companies in those areas, they will have to offer quick and convenient delivery without price increases ultimately. Now, unsurprisingly, another nice graph here that show from Statista, also very recent from 2021, they estimate that there's going to be a significant increase in the same day delivery market between 2021 and 2027. And of course, that links directly to what we already seen before, and what Banu is now going to continue about micro-fulfilment warehouses. Okay, so that's just a few statistics, and I hand over to you, Banu.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Hendrik. Do you see my screen now? Yeah, right? Okay.
Yes, we do. Yes.
Yeah, okay. So as Hendrik mentioned, the change through rapid delivery expectations has paved the way for micro-fulfillment warehouses. The micro-fulfillment centers, also named as urban fulfillment centers, they are typically small and highly automated storage facilities located close to the end consumer in order to reduce the cost and delivery times of goods. The primary focus is to speed up the delivery of online orders to customers. Hence, the main idea in behind is simple. The closer the warehouse to the consumer, the quicker goods can be delivered to them. Well, since the micro-fulfillment centers are small in square feet, they can save additional costs by utilizing automation for storage and retrieval systems, for picking purposes in place of people. Some other advantages can be summarized to be accelerated order picking, rapid order delivery, decreased operating costs, high product availability, safe working environment, and also improved energy efficiency. These systems can further minimize negative environmental effects of caused by order fulfillment by lowering transport emissions due to their proximity to end customer locations. There's another statistics that is published by Interact Analysis in January 2021. It predicts that there will be 80 micro-fulfillment centers in the United Kingdom by 2023. And in 2020, while there were just 29 micro-fulfillment centers installed, it is estimated that there will be 2,100 micro-fulfillment centers installed globally by 2025. The companies Walmart, Tesco, Albertsons are heavily investing for micro-fulfillment centers, according to that statistics. Also, the report says that the companies Dematic, Takeoff Technologies, and Exotech installed the most micro-fulfillment centers in 2020. For instance, shuttle-based storage and retrieval systems are forecasted to be the most common form of micro-fulfillment center technology throughout this forecast. So we will see more, maybe increased shuttle-based system market with the increase of micro-fulfillment centers. There's a video, Alert Innovations Alphabet implementation. They call it as NovaStore. The platform provides a proven solution that is already also working for Walmart case. what they do is they implement this micro-fulfillment center within the groceries while the customers are purchasing their fresh foods at the same time. In that micro-fulfillment center, the non-perishable products can be prepared for that customer to be picked up outside of the grocery. So they separate fresh foods with the non-perishable foods, and then that micro-fulfillment center may also serve for that purpose. Oops. Okay. Well, thank you so much for listening our talk. Here are our details and contact information. Please get in touch in any time and enjoy the rest of the webinar. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Now I will be bringing Daniel Liven-Harris from
Hi,
Mango
good morning.
Logistics, as well as Oana Jinga, who is from Bots and Us. Daniel, I want to focus with you because you're the person who is experiencing all the things that you're talking about firsthand. So can you just tell us how close to reality is the things that we heard, and where is Mango Logistics going into this?
Mango Logistics actually isn't going into this. We've been in micro warehousing for about 6 years now, so this is not new for us. I can concur with nearly everything everybody said around the panel here. We don't use automation or robotics. I haven't seen it working efficiently in very small warehouses as yet, but I'm keeping a very good eye on that.
And specifically now I'm turning to Oana, who is from Bots and Us, and we'll play a video shortly about what exactly you do. But do you agree with Daniel that probably smaller warehouses are not necessarily the place for robotics?
I think it depends a lot because small warehouses that are tidy are definitely the space for robotics. Small warehouses that have a lot of, I would say, items just lying around and obviously continuous chaos happening, probably not. Like robotics requires a certain level of, I would say, process behind it to be able to operate efficiently. So the moment you start disrupting those processes, there might be elements where it's becoming a little bit inefficient. I would still say, though, that there's solutions that can be easily kind of tailored to fit into certain spaces and maybe kind of automating only part of the process rather than the entire warehouse. And I mean, it's probably a difference between trying to retrofit existing technology in existing warehouses versus building something from scratch. So definitely, I see that the future for micro-fulfillment is they will be built around the robotic solution rather than obviously bringing it into something that's already existing.
And Hendrik, one of the things that we were talking about in our conversations earlier was where managers do you think should look at sort of key elements of whether this is for me and how do I implement it?
Okay, I mean, it's a tough question. I guess if I had the golden answer here, then people would be knocking on my door for advice every day. But it's well, it's a combination of elements really. And I'm, of course, as a researcher, interested in finding that out. So first of all, I think it's a combination, of course, that companies usually run. You will have large central warehouses and then micro fulfillment centers in certain areas. So you basically have to manage that whole network. You have to look at your customer locations, population densities, of course, where you would be looking for the micro hubs. What are your competitors doing, right? You know, are you actually competing with someone who's successful with their micro fulfillment hubs potentially? What are they offering? I think property costs is undeniably a big issue, especially in the UK. I mean, if you think, I mean, I hear sort of square foot prices in London for warehouses, small warehouses, about £35. In the Midlands, is like I think it's a factor 4 essentially. Let's say Midlands versus London locations. I think a big factor as well are customer expectations. Do they actually want quick deliveries? Do they need it? And are they willing to pay extra? Because I think only a small percentage of customers are ultimately willing. They gladly take it if there's no additional expense, but they're not necessarily willing to pay extra for it. I think there's There's also good rationale to potentially, in some industries, for example, groceries, to combine click and collect and direct to customer fulfillment, so that you can actually maybe collect your items direct from those micro fulfillment centers. And they could be adjacent to, for example, large supermarket locations. And then also that would take care potentially of some of your returns processes, right? If people can drop off their returns as well. A few other things, I think, then maybe not as small items, but nevertheless maybe very important. Of course, we heard about environmental, social considerations. You need to segment your inventory, right? Like, what are you actually having in your micro fulfillment hubs? You're not necessarily going to have your full product portfolio in there. And then I think also an important, maybe the last aspect I want to mention, what I'm quite interested in is actually all the follow-on decisions that you need to make. So if you decide, okay, you want to invest, you want to have micro fulfillment hubs in certain locations. So okay, that's a strategic decision made. But what are all the follow-on decisions in terms of technical? What equipment do you need to choose now? Do you go with the Mango approach of manual, or do you go with what some of the other speakers have been suggesting to go with automation? And then that follows down all the way into your operational reality, right? All the decisions that you have to take there.
I want to turn to Daniel, because I saw you were nodding, Daniel, very vividly on a few areas, specifically about the prices of space. How are you experiencing this?
We're literally, when I finish this meeting, I'm just about to sign on a warehouse. It's not a micro warehouse. This is as Hendrik was mentioning, you need a hybrid with much larger warehouses for fulfillment, pick and pack, and to hold the bulk of your stock, where you would have a shuttle moving stuff between the larger warehouses and your micro warehouses. But yeah, Hendrik's very right on the price thing, and it just takes a lot longer to search, negotiate prices. When there's endless pots of money, you just sign on the dotted line. I read every clause to make sure we're not signing our life away too much. But yeah, prices is a major one. Yeah, so I can't agree more. And I think there's too many people signing too quickly and paying too much at the moment. And that's driving up the price with a lot of the 10-minute delivery apps just signing off contracts, and that's fueling the market price at the moment.
Oh, and I can also see that you are also nodding to this, and the automation bit. Do you think that automation and robotics can solve this problem, or at least help it a bit?
I mean, I can only speak for what we do, and I know you'll play the video in a bit, so I don't want to spoil it too much. But we mainly look after data collection, so we're not robots like the ones earlier that will pick and grab things, but our robots are tools to collect real-time data from warehouses. The number one thing we're actually focusing at the moment is space. So constantly telling each kind of warehouse manager how much space is available in the warehouse, whether that's an empty kind of cube on the rack or actually kind of volumes going down on each of the different items. The whole idea behind that is to be able to optimize and fill every single gap on that rack, move things around when the volume becomes small enough to sit somewhere else, potentially even monetize some of the available space that some of the bigger players might have for the smaller ones, and vice versa. So space is definitely becoming more than gold, I would say. But you don't necessarily kind of have to buy more land to expand. You can kind of look at what you currently have and how do you push that to close to 100% as possible.
And as you just said, I would just play the video so people get a bit of an idea, and
Thank you.
look into this perspective.
At Bots & Us, we automate warehouse goods management with our real-time data collection technology. This is Min, our fully autonomous robot that accurately measures, tracks and finds packages in warehouses without complex infrastructure changes. Our autonomous robots capture the volume and condition of pallets of all shapes and sizes anywhere in the warehouse. They flag damaged packages or those with underreported dimensions to help recover millions in revenue. The robots navigate among people and machinery to carry the costly and labor-intensive task of inventory tracking. They scan shelves and provide immediate insight into the location and quantities of goods. We reduce the cost and time of collecting reliable inventory data by over 90% and provide daily shelf audits. This helps identify gaps or inconsistencies as they happen, driving better decisions and financial compliance. It helps to reduce revenue leakage from assets that are lost, misplaced, or non-compliant. The data is fed into the WMS, so images and videos can be analysed instantly from anywhere. This closes the data loop, accelerates productivity, and reduces unnecessary time spent processing and tracking. Ready to go in just a few weeks with minimal upfront cost and continuous support from bots and us.
Banu, I also wanted to bring you into the conversation. When you were looking at this video, do you think that this is one of the possible futures? And what are the areas where we can have problems when implementing not only these solutions, but also generally solutions for micro-fulfillment?
Sorry, who's the question to?
Banu.
Banu, sorry.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's obvious that with the micro-fulfillment implementation, the market, the world is evolving towards more decentralized model. The warehouses are spread out and remain much closer to the end customer. So it's correct that order fulfillment, delivery times, and customer service tend to be vastly improved over the centralized model. However, the operational costs might be significantly higher and increase with the number of established locations. So we should be careful about those decisions, as mentioned previously with the companies. Correct decision models are required to be developed. Optimal solutions for definition of number of fulfillment centers and their size and where to location and allocation algorithms, optimal algorithms should be developed. Otherwise, while trying to decrease the delivery times, it should result with a really high cost. And also, while we are saying that we are diminishing the carbon emission by spreading out those warehouses, however, this time replenishment issue might come with an extra traffic and carbon emissions. So we should be careful about the definition. I mean, defining the number of micro fulfillment centers. Otherwise, it comes with really high cost.
And Daniel, one of the things is certainly in congestion and problems around access to urban areas. Have you experienced something like that, and how do you deal with it?
Absolutely. In London, this has become very prevalent. Lots of roads or side roads are getting shut off now, and they're for bikes only. So Mango's strategy has been very much to grow our electric cargo bike fleet, and they can get into all the little roads. They seem to get around a lot quicker. Depending on size, they can also use bike lanes. And one of the strategies we've built is replenishing them with a van. So the cargo bikes leave the micro warehouse in the morning, go out for their first distribution, then they meet a van, and then they replenish the goods, and they can stay out in the local areas. And we've seen a huge increase in the amount of parcels we can deliver and the locations we can get to.
One of the things we spoke in an interview we published a week ago was around how, and Vizer also touched on this, how quick are companies to try and find and to even think about investing in a more high-end solutions. Do you think this is a real problem, and what can be done?
So firstly, one thing I just wanted to add to what Daniel just said. Obviously, orchestrating all this is super interesting, because obviously you have to make sure that the items leave the bigger warehouse to the micro hubs at the right time with the right quantities, then they meet the vans where they should meet. So the kind of fuel behind all of this is that real-time data view and understanding what is where, not just from obviously what you have in the warehouse, also from what the customer needs. So obviously integrating all of those into the WMS is essential. So just wanted to touch on that, because I think it's really important, like really understanding what is moving where and how much of everything you have at a certain moment in time is essential. And I think from here, to kind of answer your question, it's that drive to efficiency and to kind of get things right the first time that is pushing more and more of our customers to reach out and want to have conversations with us. So kind of implementing any technology needs to come from a real problem that somebody's feeling day in and day out. Technology for tech's sake is no longer a thing. and for an industry that's moving at this pace as logistics is, like you can't really afford to just mess around with something cool just for the sake of it. It has to have a solution for a problem. And I feel like the existing problems that we've all kind of been touching on so far do have some sort of an automation solution to address them. And I think this is how all kind of managers should approach it. Think, okay, what are my challenges and what is out there to potentially support them?
I will, in a second, I will ask all of you to sort of do a summary on your thoughts specifically around micro-fulfillment. Before I do that, as I mentioned in the beginning, we are an independent logistics news platform. So if you're liking what you see and watch, please consider subscribing to our channel. And also, you're very well invited to our May event on sustainability and the problem with energy and power in logistics. You will receive more information about it very shortly. And now I'm turning back to Daniel with sort of a final thoughts, or if you can summarize where we are now and where do you think we will be in a year or 2 years' time?
I do think there's going to be more micro warehouses set up around urban areas and cities. I think we need to define what the customer wants in terms of e-commerce and what they're willing to pay a potential slightly more premium to receive it same day. And that's one of our main reasons for having micro warehouses, the ability to have same day delivery and also a sustainable delivery by getting closer to the client. The range of electric vans and electric cargo bikes are more suited to being close to the customer. So I can see them popping up all over the place, but there's a lot to get right. And you only get it right once with our clients, which are the B2B, and their clients might be the consumers, but you only get one time to get that right. So having the right inventory levels spread out around among the warehouses, and also having that hybrid that you have got a more economical option to store their goods outside of town and then with a daily replenishment. So yeah, I can see them popping up around town. I just hope that we and everybody else gets the right micro warehouse. It's all very well using the term micro warehouse, but I've seen some dark stores tucked away into residential areas or not clean, etc. So finding the right micro warehouse is imperative.
And Banu, how about you? What are your sort of final thoughts or summary of the topic?
Yeah, it's obvious that not only the warehousing sector is evolving towards more decentralized management, but the whole world, I believe, the management issues are evolving towards more decentralized, more smart way of management. So while, as I mentioned previously, while deciding, it's obvious that micro-fulfillment centers will increase even in United Kingdom in the future, but we have to be careful again while deciding how many and at which size micro-fulfillment centers to establish. More, I think more smart algorithms and more cost-benefit analytics should be developed towards that. From a researcher perspective, I would contribute in that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Hendrik, how about you?
Yeah, very good. So first of all, I think we are in especially exciting times when it comes to logistics and warehousing, which is great, especially when you're a researcher and like me, and you don't necessarily have to make all the financial decisions immediately. But what I find especially exciting at the moment are all the technology options that are coming on the market. You have your traditional automation solutions like your shuttle systems, ASRS systems, and so forth. But then, of course, you have companies such as Bots and Us that are offering very, very unique solutions that are coming into the market. And so I think what decision makers, and this is what I'm looking at really, what decision makers will be focusing on is a solution that, of course, keeps the costs low, that solves their problems, for example, if it's human labor problems and so forth, but that also gives them the greatest amount of flexibility and scalability, right? I mean, this is, of course, where robotics come in very, very nicely, because you can just, well, add one more robot, right? Traditional automation is very static. With robots, you have a bit more, a lot more flexibility and scalability. And yeah, this is, you know, those decision considerations, I think, are what managers are grappling with. And yeah, this is very exciting to find out what they should do.
Okay, and Oana, finally with you, what is your summary?
I mean, I think I mentioned it earlier, like we're not necessarily in the business of robotics, but more in the business of data. And I think like Banu said, data is at the core of kind of organizing the world of micro-fulfillment, because you have to get things right in terms of where do you place them, how much stock do you put in them, and how quickly do you scale everything. So I kind of absolutely agree with that point, and that would be the number one thing I would encourage everyone to do, is start with the data and then obviously use it to inform all the decisions.
Thank you very much, all of you, and also many thanks to the people who were watching and who asked different questions. You will receive more information about the event, as also added information from the speakers a bit later. Thank you very much all again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.